Well, hello, mindful entrepreneurs. Here we are in 2022. Already, as I record this, it is January 6th. I'm coming in today to record my podcast at Mindful Entrepreneur. And today we're diving into the phrase, unlock your potential. And because I've got training in neuro-linguistic programming and working with the unconscious mind, I thought this would be a really fun thing to talk about. And in fact, planned this podcast because I had a really inspiring conversation with a client this week that I want to share a bit with you. We were talking about why it's impossible to talk ourselves into changing. Just be strong, just do it, just be confident. It's our unconscious mind hears that and says, why am I not being strong or confident? And it starts going on to these crazy spirals. Unless we have some good practices or training, talking ourselves into change doesn't work. We can remind ourselves of a change we've already made, but creating new change is very hard. Even those changes that are absolutely positive, our conscious mind and our unconscious mind seem to be fighting with each other. So why is this an issue? Why is it that our unconscious mind can't just listen and smarten up and do the work? We've heard that 95% of our activities are unconscious. How do you whip it into shape? And of course, you don't whip it into shape, but you do build rapport with your unconscious mind. So first reason this is a challenge, your unconscious mind doesn't have simple language. It has words, but each word is a label of meaning, and it has emotion tied to it. Each word is a symbol of the meaning of the thought that is meant to be conveyed. And realistically, words are just labels of experiences themselves. And your unconscious mind is actually very symbolic. So when I start telling myself that something pisses me off, I can expect to have to use the bathroom more often that day. It is actually that symbolic. And the more you build rapport with your unconscious mind, the more you'll see that happening. And secondly, change is unconscious. All change, all learning, all behavioral shifts happen at an unconscious level, meaning that your unconscious mind, your imagination, your emotions, your visualization all need to be involved. And then they need to bring in not just habits or tactics, those things that we think we want to change, those behaviors, but also your beliefs, your thoughts, your values, and your identity. When you can work at the identity level and step into being able to say, I'm the kind of person who, and actively create a memory of being the kind of person who does this new positive thing, now you're getting things easier. Now you're making progress. In hypnosis and self-hypnosis, it's important to start with you, your identity, which is made up of your model of the world, what you think the world really is, which is different for all of us, your beliefs, your language, and your attitudes, among other things. Your language is still important. Language is massively powerful because each word is tied to deep meaning. Our unconscious mind just doesn't see them as as powerful as pulling it all together, activating all those pieces that come with that meaning, those emotions, those memories, those creativity, the visualization. But language reflects your beliefs and attitudes. It's a surface representation of them. And it also creates them. Have you ever noticed how different you feel inside when you say, I'm furious? It's a big, intense emotion. It actually takes up a lot of space in your body and a lot of energy. Now just try on saying, I'm miffed. I'm miffed about that. Feel how tiny that emotion is. So words definitely have a lot of power. So then in talking with my client, we had an example we chatted about, which was shining a light on how it happens. So we talked about challenging the sentence, unlock your potential in 2022, and then actualizing it. So why is unlocking your potential such a common concern? In fact, most clients, when I see them, at some level, they feel stuck. They recognize that their potential is being blocked and they want to actualize it. So it's very common. And because they're coming to me, I do a lot of hypnosis work. So they can come to me with that question and know that since I work with the unconscious mind, I can help them with it. So it's also common because I think most of us kind of recognize that there's things that we could achieve that we just don't put our nose to the grindstone and actually do. Much of our unconscious programming was installed in childhood. Do you ever remember your parents saying, I don't think little Jamie's living up to their potential? Or maybe even insert your name there. It was something that was very common, and a teacher would put that on your report card, not living up to their potential. Never describing specifically what their potential was or how to live up to it, right? So these challenges, um, they're installed in us at this young age, but no solutions. We also sense that we've lost contact with our spirit, our spirituality, our intuition, our soul, and our authenticity. And a symptom of that is that we're not living in flow and joy. We're spending too much time in the conscious mind, the working mind, reactive mode, stress and anxiety. So we're not actually tapping into that unconscious. So here's the thing. Let's NLP this, as we say, first. So in neurolinguistic programming, we uncover what has been deleted, distorted, or generalized. And in this phrase, unlock your potential in 2022, though it only has 5 words, there are 3 things to challenge. Unlock presupposes something is locking your potential. Your potential is a generalization, and is really meaningless. It doesn't mean anything, although it means everything. You can't say, oh, that is what your potential means. You can't define it other than very individually, very personally. And in 2022, so let's challenge the idea of unlocking your potential in 2022. See, that distorts the idea that life and personal growth and discovery are a process, and you can turn them into one short year, like, bam, now I'm going to be on top of the world. Now I will be self-actualized, and everything else will be easy, rather than honoring the process. So if we add the phrase, more intentionally continue to unlock my potential, then we can actually fix that one right away. That would dealt with in 2022. Continue to recognize we are in the process. And actually, if you think back to who you were even last year, I'm afraid I don't know the reference, but someone once said, if the person you were last year doesn't embarrass you, then you're not growing enough. So that leaves us with unlock and potential. Let's start with potential, and then we'll look at what's locking and blocking it. Honestly, we're going to go back and forth here. So if we attempt to define potential, Google tells us it means having or showing the capacity to develop into something in the future. Okay, we kind of all at a gut level knew that's what potential is. In our busy reactive society, though, seldom do we take the time to contemplate even, am I hungry? Am I actually hungry right now, or am I just eating? Let alone, what could we develop into the future, right? And the future tends to be hard for humans to visualize beyond the next day or weeks. It seems so tenuous, which is actually exactly what makes it tenuous. Much as the saying, whether you believe you can or you believe you cannot, you're right. If we believe the future is tenuous, it means we're not going to try and get a grip on it. We don't feel we can. We don't feel we have any control over something we can't really imagine. And you can notice that it is something that is hard to imagine and start practicing imagining it and getting better at visualizing further into the future, visualizing March, now September, now next New Year's, now 3 years from now. What will you be doing in 2025? And deliberately practice visualizing the future so that we actually stretch our timeline out and gain control over the future so that we can intentionally design our life and our business to achieve it. So potential is not your skills and abilities. It's not your knowledge. Those are things you already have. And they're things that you can improve. right? You can improve your skills and abilities. If you have a growth mindset, you recognize those are already changing over time, right? The reason you're embarrassed by the person you were last year is they didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the ability that you have now. You've been growing, you've been learning, and you've stepped into the future self from a year ago. You're now in that 1 year ago's future self. You have the same or even greater growth and change ahead of you. Why even greater? Because as you become aware of your ability to control it, you multiply exponentially the effect you can have on who you're becoming. We have a very hard time imagining how much more powerful, how much more brilliant, how much more exciting, proactive, and creative we can be. So that person 1 year in the future, that person who's going to achieve your 3-year vision, your 10-year vision, is going to become someone very different. That hints a lot at unlocking potential, doesn't it? But if potential's not skills and ability, then it's also not really learning more or getting better skills, because unlocking your potential will lead to that. It might even lead to mastery for some of you. So what is it? If I asked you how many grams of potential you have inside of you, what would you say? I know you're not sure. You can't measure it. It's hard to quantify. I think it's about knowing yourself deeper and deeper, discovering your core strengths that are unique to you, and the mix of those strengths is very unique. Your values, not the values you grew up with, but the actual values that matter to you, and taking the time to challenge the values that you just habitually think you have versus the things that actually resonate in your heart and soul, and finding your passion, and then executing, right? Unlocking potential is about executing, and the execution of our potential changes it. Right? Looking at it, observing it, working with it changes what it will be. Recognizing it's going to be multiple iterations. Right? It's taking real, profound, and focused action on a well-formed vision. In fact, to me, the meaning of life is to find out what you're passionate about, connect with a group of like-minded people, and create something together that's bigger than any of you could have done alone. Unlocking your potential is interpersonal. In fact, all transformation has an interpersonal aspect to it. If unlocking your potential allows you to bring to bear your strengths and your passion, then we actually have two new problems. What are strengths and what are passion? How do you identify your strengths and how do you identify your passion? And this is often the real answer people are seeking when they go out to find themselves. Sadly, people want a single answer to that. They want to be at that snapshot stuck in time. Now I have the answer and I can make a check mark on it. But both double-edged sword to the fact that there is a choice here and many iterations and growth and transformation over time. Unlocking your potential is happening all the time, even without your trying to. Society is helping you do it. People are helping you do it just by creating opportunities and environments that lead you to become bigger than you were before, to identify what you care about and maybe get more committed to what that is. So when you're actually unlocking your potential and creating that vision, you're setting a GPS. But if you're like me and you set your GPS, you're pretty likely to take a side trip to get ice cream along the way, knowing that your GPS will bring you back right on track, giving you some new routes that will bring you back to that core destination, that focal destination. What you do take the risk of is that when you go to get ice cream, you might discover a new destination in the process, one that's even better than you had previously known existed. So you don't have to feel committed to that GPS setting. You can use that GPS and reset it. So the good news is there are great tools that can get you started finding your strengths. They are a starting point. And then you want to journal on them, contemplate them in meditation or while you're cycling or having a shower, falling asleep, and hone in on the strengths that really resonate, that vibe for you. I'll put a link to some of them in the bonus materials, but here's a few. The Clifton Strengths Assessment is one that I like a great deal. It takes a fair amount of time, take 20 to 30 minutes to do this. And it's one of those assessments where you go, both of these answers are right, or all of these answers are right, and you have to pick the one that is righter for you. Uh, the results can be very interesting, and the report that pops out the other end will help you kind of dive in and experience taking on one of those strengths and just maybe living it for the day, printing it out on a card and carrying it around and noticing how you use it and whether you could activate it during the course of your day, and see which ones really are truly yours, truly the ones that power you up, empower you, and inspire you. The Enneagram test can also be valuable. It's a lot more work because the initial test gives you an indication. There's a lot of reading that you want to do to dive in and see if it's accurate and how it's accurate. It also is something that changes over time. Personality isn't permanent. Benjamin Hardy wrote a book called Personality Isn't Permanent, and he talks about this a great deal. We believe that our personality is inherent, but it is not. It shifts and changes over time as we learn and grow and change ourselves. The VIA character assessment is one that is more of a permanent nature. What is your character? But again, these also change. It taps into your character assessment based on the great virtues. And again, it's one that is a great starting point. Your passion is more prosaic as well. It's not an assessment that you would do, but it is something that you can journal on and dive into. Ask yourself questions like, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Or what would get you out of bed in the morning? Not in the hobby recreation side of things necessarily, since we're really talking about being mindful entrepreneurs. But if you could, if money was no object, you'll often hear that as the beginning of finding your true self. If money was no object, what would you like to be part of that you would absolutely leap out of bed to do? Why not do that in this lifetime since it's the one you have? What captures your curiosity? If you could go to a tropical island and there were experts and people to work with and ways to learn and play with something that you care about, and spend a year just going deeper and deeper into mastery of that. And again, money's no object. You're fine. You're taken care of. What would you want to do that with? I've also heard the question, and I love this one, what breaks your heart? When you look out there in the world, what breaks your heart that you could fix? Or what stirs up your anger that you could fix, that you could create a path to solution for? And from this, build a vision of success, starting not from how do I want to make money, but what are my core strengths? What is my passion? And build that vision of success. Unlocking your potential starts with identifying it. That's pretty logical, isn't it? And maybe you've done this already. You know your potential, but you're not actualizing it. You feel stuck. This is a little bit more about knowing yourself or know thyself. So now that you know your strengths and your passion, you also need to know how your brain works. We have a triune brain. We have a reptilian brain that keeps us alive. We have a mammalian brain that helps us experience emotion and form memories. And we have our human brain, our cortex and our prefrontal cortex. And then we use them in pretty cool ways. Do some digging into how your brain works. You might want to study with Jim Quick, or perhaps you want to look at Brainercise. There's some great books. Another one, Keeping the Brain in Mind by Melissa Tiers. A fabulous way to actually get to know yourself, the hardware that you're using, that your mind, your heart, your passion, and your strengths are operating through. Your brain's reptilian mind keeps protecting you from change. It is designed to keep you from change because you know that those yucky red berries didn't kill you. Why would you try eating those nice, yummy smelling blueberries. They might be dangerous. That's what your reptilian mind is there to do. Keep things status quo and protect you from standing out or doing scary things. Right? If you're in a herd of gazelles and you lift your head up, you're going to be the one the lions attack. So our reptilian brain doesn't want us to stand out. You don't want to do scary things like meet new people or share your vision boldly. And this brings us full circle back to your childhood and your unconscious programming. The reasons we don't take action and unlock our potential. As Jim Quick would say, your BS is getting in your way, your belief system. We have childhood programming that gets in our way. When we're feeling confident and we're building out that vision, we are standing in our best. Actually, the part of our brain that creates goals is not the same part that executes on those goals. So you create that great vision, but then when it's time to execute, to take action, you may find yourself in the paralysis of analysis or credentialism or just wanting one more thing that needs to happen before you can move forward. And it's your childhood programming that is getting in your way. I'm not smart enough. I'm not connected enough. I'm not confident enough. I'm not ready. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't do sales. I'm just not good at it. I'm not professional. I'm not persuasive. I can't ask for help because I'll look stupid in front of the whole class. We live these beliefs that used to be true, or certainly felt very true back then when we were children. Beliefs that let us survive or even thrive as children don't work as adults, but we're living them as though they were still true today. And that's why tapping into the unconscious mind through hypnosis or self-hypnosis lets you get into that programming, that first event, that childhood experience in which you installed that belief so that you can see the truth, reframe it, reprogram it, and eliminate it instantly. So I encourage you to more intentionally continue to discover your authentic strengths and clear away the baggage that has been getting in your way, surrounding yourself with new learning, new resources, and new support for your vision in 2022. My version of Unlock Your Potential in 2022. Happy New Year.